This is my tale. Hear it, and know from whence I came.
Starts on the hill of Erech. Interesting. I was born in Numenor, 2 scant years before its fall, but I cannot trust my memories of that land. Are they true recollections, or the fleeting shadows of stories I was told, the impressions of others? I cannot say, but I know the name I was given. I was born Adunzagar. It was only the first of my names, and not the last. My father was Urizagar, the Captain General of Numenor's fleets, and his title was Sword of the Sun. Do I remember his cruelty, or his worship at the temples of Sauron? I thought I did. Do I remember the warmth of my mother, Abrazani, or is that memory a creation too, balm for the hurts of my heart? This I do know. My mother pleaded with the sons of Elendil to make a place for me on their ships when the deluge came to Numenor. In later years, when I was older, Isildur told me that my father's spies prevented her from reaching the ships in time. Was it so? I do not know. But that is how I came without father or mother to the shores of Middle-earth when Numenor sank beneath the waves. Isildur took me to foster and gave me a new name, Tarandil. I grew up with his sons, and they were as brothers to me. By the time I was a man, I had won a number of victories on Isildur's behalf. All right. Indeed, after the Battle of Tarling's Neck, it was I who accepted the surrender of King Rioch. Okay. I myself delivered Rioch's axe and spear to Isildur, and attended the victory feast with him. Vows were sworn and speeches were made, but they passed me like gnats. My eyes were only for Bravantil, King Rioch's only daughter. Hmm. All right. So far, so good, I think. I loved her at once, and she loved me, but we could not speak of it openly. Hmm. In secret we plighted our troth before the stone my foster father set upon Erech. Why secretly? King Rioch had pledged peace to my people, but he still hated the men of Numenor. Braventel knew this, but the ways of the heart are not those of the mind. Revealing the truth of our love would destroy the peace between our peoples. So we said nothing. But then Bravetel bore me a son. She named him Hail. Hail. Alright, there's Bravetel. And there's Hail too. Alright. King Rioch was enraged, for he was certain that his grandson had been born a bastard. But Braventel soothed his ire with reassuring words. She told the king that she had been married in secret, not to an invading Numenorian, but to one of his own warriors, who had recently been slain in the battle with the orcs. Hael was born of that union, she said, and therefore the stain of dishonor could not cling to him. Rioch's anger cooled, and he agreed to raise the boy as his own grandchild. I grieved that my son could not know his true father, but there was nothing I could do. I stole gold from the treasury that Prince Aerter of Belphalis had sent as much as he could be done secretly to Bravatel to provide for the boy. But then I was summoned back east to my foster brother Isildur, for the host of Mordor had come down to the valley and overthrown Minas Ithil. Sauron's war had begun, and the king sent word to all their allies that it was time to honor their vows. It was then that Riok learned the truth. Uh-oh. Hel had been born with blue eyes, uncommon but not unknown among the wild men. Their eyes sometimes did not darken until they reached the age of 2. But Hel's eyes did not darken, and his pale skin and black hair betrayed his Numenorean blood. Rio confronted Bravatel, threatening to kill her child, as she confessed the truth. She said that she loved Adunadan, but she would rather die than betray his name. Incensed, Ryok ordered his warriors to set down their spears. He swore eternal enmity with Gondor and declared he was breaking his oath. The men of the mountain would not fight against Sauron. And so the curse of Isildur was levied against them. Oh, brother. I pleaded with Isildur to show mercy, to forgive Riok and his people for their oath-breaking. But my foster father's wrath at their treachery was so great, I feared for my life. I quailed before the storm of his rage, and told him not of Ravountel my wife, or Hel my son. Would the truth-telling have changed his mind? Would it cause him to repent his curse? My mind dwells ever on this, not the earliest of my wrongs, but the first I regret. I went north with Isildur and my foster brothers to summon aid from Arnor and from the elves, and every night my heart pleaded with me to speak the truth, and every day the guilt pressed heavily upon me and weighed my lips shut. For all my time with the Great Alliance, I kept secret my marriage to Bravatel and the duty I owed to my son. My brothers goaded me with the thought I might never marry, and each of their barbs pricked more deadly than they intended or imagined. I feared for Bravatel and for Hel, and when the war finally ended, I was frenzied with worry for them. Isildur offered me the chance to be the captain general I was dreamed of becoming, commander of all the armies of the Dunedain. But no longer did my heart desire it. I longed only for the return of the White Mountains so I could find my wife and son. Then I will make you more than a mere lord, my son of no blood, Isildur said to me, but rather a prince, for Aerter and all his sons perished during the war. Belphalis needs a new master. Go, and take my blessings with you. I will take your blessing, I said to him, but not for me. Show mercy instead for the men of the mountain, and lift the curse that you have placed upon them. I will bring you their false king's head, and his people will swear their oath anew. But he refused. Always did Isildur refuse me this one request. I brought desperate search to the Vale of Morthal, but could find no sign of the wild men. Their villages were abandoned, peopled only by bones. The hill of Erech had become a blighted and fearful place. I followed the few signs I could find into the mountains to the source of the Black Root. Deep within the darkness of the mountain tunnels, I found that I came too late. The wild men had all died. Some had perished by starvation or disease. Others had killed one another or themselves. Rioch lay among them, his own sword buried in his heart. But that was not the worst of it. Isildur's curse had taken hold. I was chased from those tunnels by the shades of Rioch and his household. From the top of the hill of Erech, he howled in rage and fury at me. I know now who despoiled my daughter, faithless invader from beyond the sea. My rage will follow you forever, though I remain bound to pass no further than Erech. You will never be free of it, for my howling anger will pursue you wherever you think to go. But that is the least of the daggers with which I cut thee. This will be the sharpest. There can be no escape for my daughter and her child. You will share my sorrow, detestable thief, for she and the child will remain with me forever. The shade of Tyrandel falls silent, overcome by silent grief. That explains a few things.
The pieces fall into place.
The pieces fall into place, and I began to see the sad road that brought the shade of Tyrandil to this place and this state. Could he have turned away from his course and prevented the evil he would cause? For I guess at its ending, and it is sorrowful. Still, we must hear it.
Tyrandil's confession has not yet ended. If he will say more, we must listen.
Very well. We will listen to the rest.
Never before had I known such despair.
Never before. I remember little of the days and weeks that followed. I wandered in the wilderness, mad with grief for my wife and son, lamenting their doom, an eternity of pitiless unrest. I never came to the halls that awaited me, though Phallus was not to be mine, and I cared not. I dreamt my family called to me, their voices drawing me deeper into the wild lands. I know not where my feet trod. Uncaring, I grew gaunt and hungry. Somewhere in the wilderness, not far from the site of a past victory that was now wholly meaningless, I found a creature that was known to me, one of the 9. It was a Nazgul of Sauron, and I could not escape it. Do I say could not? That's not the right of it. I did not try to escape. Perhaps this Nazgul could give me the only escape I wanted. I welcomed the cold touch of death, and I feared it not. Man of the West, whose sires once hollowed my master, I offer thee a chance to redeem thyself. My master is unhoused, but yet unbroken. if thou didst aid him, if thou bringest him back to power, he can grant thee thy greatest desire. You have come to a fool's errand, Wraith. I desire nothing of this world any longer, only death. My master can bestow that gift, but not only for thee. Lend him your aid, and he will give it to those you love as well. I knew the power of Sauron. Had it not taken the greatest kings of both elves and men to defeat him? And even then the effort had taken both their lives. If any might have the power to end the suffering of Braventel and Hell, might it be Sauron? There is something else the Master can offer. Something to satisfy a yearning so encompassing you no longer take notice of it. What yearning? For what? Vengeance against those who deserve it. What does Sauron require? The wretch who stole my master's ring must not be allowed to keep it. Kill him and bring it to Mordor, and death will be your reward. And so it became my father's son after all. By how many twisting paths had Adunzagar, son of Urizagar, came to this place? The name Tarandil no longer suited me, but I knew I needs must wear it a little longer if I was to fulfill my bargain with the Blade of Lebanon and his master. I returned from the wilderness gaunt and haggard, but with new-found purpose. I returned to Minas Ithil, just as my foster father Isildur prepared for the departure of Enumenes to claim his father's Elendil's throne. They delighted to see me again, for they feared my death in the wilderness. The falsehoods came more easily to me than they once did. I told Isildur that my brother and my brothers that I had been waylaid and wounded by orcs on the road, left to die by one of their raiding parties. That would have been my end, I said to them, but for the Oradoth, the men of the mountains. They rescued me and nursed me back to health. For that they have my gratitude. I tell you true, I would count their broken oaths repaired by their deed. Well, I'm pretty sure what Isildur says about that. I am glad of the services to you, Tarandil, son of no blood, but their betrayal remains beyond pardon. This treachery cannot now be redeemed, no matter how dear to me the subject of their aid. But let us not dwell upon the oath-breakers. It brings me no happiness to speak of such faithless traitors. Not on such a joyful occasion as this, your return from the wild and from the dead. I understand if you do not wish to take the western road again so soon. The change of heart that brought you hither to Minas Ithil is understandable. But if it is your wish, I will not push you for you to return to Belphalis. Come with us instead to the northern road, if you are hale and hearty enough for the journey. All right. What do you say, Tyrandil? Aye, father. I will go with you on that road. What happens next? We'll find that out in the next episode of A Tale of Two Pine Leaves.